Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Complete Sports Media Podcast. I'm your host, Darren Campbell. We're going to discuss this with Olivier Pheulphin. We've got him joining us. He was with us a couple of weeks ago, and we discussed some soccer and some basketball, and he's able to join us today. Olivier is the technical director for the Juventus Soccer Academy down in San Antonio. And they've been closed for a little while over this pandemic, but they're about to begin playing again next week. And yeah, I'm so glad you can join me today, Olivier. Thanks so much for your time.
You're welcome. Good morning, Darren. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Yeah.
I'm watching the NBA in the bubble, and it's fantastic.
You did mention the NBA, and this NBA restart to the season was great. Those 8 games really started getting you a taste for playoff basketball, and then the matchups were presented to us, and it's been fun. I guess to me the biggest story in the last few days was Luka Doncic absolutely having one of the most impressive games I've ever seen in Game 4 of the Clippers-Mavericks series, and at 21 years old, to be able to do what he's doing. It's shocking the world and making it just so much must-see basketball on TV. How impressive has he been for you?
It's very easy to make parallels with other European players that came before him, and I'm thinking Tony Kukoc. He's not the same player at all. I'm just discussing the status of Tony Kukoc when he was in Europe. When he was playing for Split, Jugoplastica, he was the best player in Europe. And I remember he joined the Bulls, and they kind of schooled him when he played with the national team. Pheulpin and Jordan went at him and made him cry, and then he joined them. Media were on him. I mean, there was that big expectation, and Kukoc had a very nice career. It was the same with Doncic, except multiplied by 10. We knew he was a freak. Coming to the US, we're like, okay, is he going to be fast enough to play in the NBA? That was pretty much the only question, because the passing ability, scoring ability of the chart. But he's amazing to see. It's like he anticipates every move. He's going to take you to sleep because he's so slow at time, and then he changed the pace, and then he attacks right, left. He can do absolutely anything, and he's big enough that he can post you up. That's why he gets all those rebounds, and he's a fascinating player. What he did the other day, he made me scream in front of the TV. It doesn't happen often. I'm pretty laid back when I watch games. I watch games like a coach. I anticipate the next play, what should happen. You're watching that timeout, you're like, there's no freaking way he's going to do this. And he does. And, Damian Lillard, yes, has been doing that, but this guy who is he? I mean, he's 21? There's no limit to what he can do. And you know what was the most impressive to me was yesterday. They got whooped by the Lakers, and they're down 25 points or something, and he's on the bench, and you see his face. And his face is ready to fight every single one of them. And that's something you cannot buy. You cannot teach. He was so upset at the game yesterday. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, players will tell you, oh, we need to win the next one, blah, 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 blah. There's no blah, blah, blah with that guy. He was burning inside. And you know that, I don't know if Porzingis is going to play the next game. They're pretty much done. But next year, that guy is going to be the MVP of the league. I mean, how do you stop him? He can do absolutely anything on the court.
Yeah, no, his competitive fire we haven't seen in very many people. That particular day we're talking about, it was they called it the Mamba Day, being 824, the 2 numbers that Kobe Bryant wore for the Lakers. And there's special players like Michael Jordan, like Kobe Bryant, that come onto the court, and you can just see this competitive fire. And you see that burning so heavily in Luka. And what he's been able to do with this Dallas team, he's actually pretty severely hampered right now with an ankle injury. Obviously, missing his top center and Kristaps Porzingis being hurt. don't stand a chance against, incredibly deep LA Clippers team. Kawhi Leonard, made that move over to LA and brought Paul George into the mix to try to win a championship in a third city. The competitive fire just has been absolutely unbelievable and so incredible to watch. I've been so excited, just the potential year after year. They probably won't be able to advance past this series, but I'm just so excited for the future of him. The other guy that I just quickly mentioned, Paul George, made a really interesting statement yesterday. He said that he was in a very dark place in this bubble. He actually sought out the team psychiatrist and really wanted to get some mental health, work and try to figure out what was wrong. He felt like he was just, he just couldn't function very well. I guess whatever, was said worked quite well because he had his best performance of the playoffs, and actually the 35 points exceeded what he had got in those first 3 games combined. So, but it was really nice to hear him actually voice, his concerns and the problems that he had. And how did that strike you when you heard that?
But honestly, I'll tell you, I don't exactly know what was his problem. I mean, I know he talked about it, but what is he talking about? Is he just struggling because he's in a bubble? I mean, does he have family problems? Is it, what's going on in the world? And by the world, I mean in the US right now. There's still a lot of riots. There was another shooting, or lack of a better word, of police shooting a black man. And I know yesterday the NBA, I mean, the players erupted. I mean, there was interview after interview where, it has to stop. I mean, it has to stop. And I know the Toronto Raptors, some of them, I think Van Fleet was talking about boycotting the next game. It is that bad in America. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. The NBA put themselves in that situation where they are the league that plays right now. Everybody's watching it. And yes, it's mostly a black league. There's a lot of Afro-American or black players that are in that league. So they can express, and they should express, their anger right now. But they're kind of stuck in that situation where they have to keep on playing despite whatever's going on. And that's why they are upset. Some of them were talking about leaving the bubble and just say, I'm done with this. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if that's a situation with Paul George. There's a lot of things going on, and yes, as you know, there's election coming in the US. We're not there to do a political show, but it's a crazy country down there right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. Obviously, a lot of the details on what was his concerns and the things that were putting him into the dark place didn't get revealed, but it has been really tough. 3 months ago, George Floyd was murdered by the police, and obviously that sparked a huge amount of protests, and Black Lives Matter movement really moved into the forefront and has been very prominent on the minds of North Americans, and starting to go around the world. That shooting of Jacob Blake, it just really shook me as well, because I thought that, after George Floyd and all the, difficulties there, the police would be, acting on their best behavior and not escalating things like this. And a lot of the NBA players before the bubble even started were apprehensive about going in there because they didn't think they could further the protests and the movement, and they were worried about being able to get their messages out and not support things like this. And this happened, and I think it has really rocked the whole league to its core. And the Toronto Raptors have really had discussions about boycotting the game on Thursday, and trying to have their voices heard to more people. They mentioned, you said Fred VanVleet, he just said, what is this Black Lives Matter movement meaning anymore? It's on the back of our jerseys, it's on signs and things like that. But, is it really having an impact when we see this happening again only 3 months later? And the video was, shocking to watch. It really actually upset me so emotionally. obviously, this whole thing has been horrible for most North Americans who aren't racist and who don't have problems with, the color of your skin. Yeah, this is another huge moment in the world, and obviously in the NBA too, because it being a predominantly black sport. Yeah, what do you see a lot of guys leaving the bubble? Do you see a possibility of some games being boycotted, things like that?
I honestly do not know. It will be quite a statement, but it depends who does it. And do you do it individually? Do you do it as a team? You see, it's kind of like if you were to tell me the Toronto Raptors boycott the game, I don't think it's going to have an impact in the US. They'll be like, they're Canadian. We don't care. Uh, so don't do it. But we are in that weird time, and I'm trying to stay away from politics there, Darren. It's on TV. I mean, you have the Republican convention every day, and they're saying things that clearly offend a big chunk of the country, and especially black people. So I know LeBron commented on this, and Doc Rivers yesterday had a very moving interview, and they're right on. I mean, in San Antonio, Greg Popovich has been talking about that for years. It is to the point where something drastic has to happen, and what is it going to be? I mean, hopefully it's going to be the election and just things change and that's it. But I don't know. I mean, I really don't know where this country is going right now. So I understand their concern, even if I'm just a white guy with a European accent living in this country. You see some crazy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, obviously, the vote is super important in the U.S. and yeah, let's hope there can be some there can be some changes and yeah, they'll be able to figure it out. I feel really sorry for a lot of these guys because I did hear that they were excited, being able to advance to that second round and have the possibility of going further. The Raptors had such an incredible run last year, went to the title. They're looking really strong this year. Obviously, that was a depleted Brooklyn team. Not their full roster being able to be there, but Toronto had the first sweep in their history, coming off their best record ever in the regular season. Looking really strong in this bubble and playing great. Obviously, Kyle Lowry being hurt, could really impact that team. And luckily they have a few days before Thursday's opening game, but they'll play Boston, who's an incredibly deep team. They swept out the 76ers quite handily. And how do you see this Toronto-Boston series shaping up? I think it's probably going to go 7, and I think it's going to be one of the best series we're going to see in a really long time.
That wouldn't surprise me, when I saw the drawing, and I'm like, shoot, they have Boston in the second round. That's the tough one because Boston is, it's kind of like a redemption year for them. They should have been better last year. They have everything they need. I mean, coaching, bench, stars, everything is there. And the way they dismissed, even if, Simmons was out, they just toyed with the Sixers. So Boston is really impressive, and I wouldn't be surprised if Boston goes all the way. They are that good. After that, I mean, Toronto is very, very solid, but they've lost one key player. And, when it's time to get that extra basket, who's going to step up? Kyle Lowry needs to be 200% for that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he sure does. Yeah. Let's hope he's a fast healer and can get in there right away. The other Eastern Conference matchup looks like it's going to be the Milwaukee Bucks, who are up 3-1 on Orlando against Miami. Miami swept out Indy quite easily, in my opinion. Pacers did fire Nate McMillan today. Just heard the news a couple hours ago. He wasn't able to get them into the second round in the 4 seasons he was there. They were swept out 3 of those 4 seasons, and just not enough. But speaking of a deep team like Boston, Miami is another team that has so much depth, so many great stars in the front, but so many amazing bench players, great outside shooters, inside shooters. Jimmy Butler is phenomenal. Man, they're going to give Milwaukee a run for their money, aren't they?
They will, but I still believe they have to pay their due. They're still, apart from a couple of players, mainly Butler, they need to gain experience. They need to lose in the playoff. And I think they will do that. Milwaukee, they're going to have to step up. I mean, you cannot play like they're playing against Orlando. It's up and down. I mean, you cannot play like that. So I expect Milwaukee to step up. I don't think that game's going to go 7. But after that, it's if we end up Milwaukee, Toronto, or Milwaukee, Boston, I have absolutely no idea who's going to come out of this. That's what's very exciting is we finally, the last few years have the East as competitive as the West. I was paying attention to the West pre-playoff or whatever the name was, Sacramento, San Antonio, Phoenix. There's a lot of good team and they're going to get more players in the draft. The West is going to be insane next year, absolutely insane. But you now have the top of the East where it's difficult to say who's the favorite. It's wide open and whoever's going to come out of the East can win. Yeah. I mean, Toronto proved it last year, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. Well, obviously, most of us were focusing on the West because, there was the possibility of many teams getting that 8th position. There was talk of a play-in game. Memphis was really struggling, and obviously losing Jaren Jackson had a big impact on them, being able to win out of those 8 games. But there was so many teams chasing them. Obviously, Portland, San Antonio, Phoenix. Phoenix going 8-0 in the bubble was really exciting and great for them. What an emerging young team. Devin Booker looks, one of the most incredible emerging guards. I'm excited for that team. Portland played phenomenal once they got their 2 big men back, and it looked like they were going to, be able to get in there and then give the Lakers a big run for the money. Talk about, that race for 8th position. That was one of the most exciting things I've seen going down the stretch there.
It was, and you can also see which team benefits from being together without no distraction. And I was looking at a team like Phoenix. That's probably what they need to get out of this moment. If those games were played on the road in Phoenix all over the place, they're still young and they get distracted. Over there, they had absolutely no choice but basketball all day long, and with the team, kind of like national team when they're together on the road, they stay together, you stick together, and you become tighter. Phoenix, super impressive. Are they going to be able to do it back in a normal contest? Yeah, I hope so. San Antonio was there too. If I can say a name, Keldon Johnson, blown away by the talent of that kid. I mean, I know he comes from Kentucky, he's supposed to be good, but he can do it all. And you're looking at him and you're like, hey, here we go again. The Spurs got another one. And that's the kind of players, there's so much talent in the West. I'm trying to not forget anybody, but yeah, Portland, Damian Lillard is a monster. He's an absolute monster. I mean, he's going to shoot and score, and he does it in front of you, in your face, and there's nothing you can do. They have I really thought for a minute that they were going to push the Lakers to 7. Yeah. But they exploded. They will be there again. I mean, Portland has talent. Who am I missing? I know I'm forgetting someone in the West right now. There's too much talent.
Yeah, there's so much talent, obviously, at that top end and at the bottom end. It's super impressive. What's the feeling in San Antonio, missing the playoffs for the first time in 23 years? That was an absolutely amazing run. North American sports doesn't see that because, about half the teams make it into the playoffs in most of North American sports. It was an unprecedented run. Was there a lot of anger and frustration from the Spurs fans, or did they realize that it just happens to teams here and there?
If you want to give value to numbers, streak have to stop at some point. You can't win 50 years in a row. You can't go to the playoffs 75 years in a row or whatever. That's what gives value to it. And the pandemic kind of changed everything. So people, it was really, really bad in Texas at the same time. So, you watch those games, you kind of forget about it for a couple of hours, but there's no drama, absolutely no drama. It was expected when Marcus Aldridge, kind of, took himself out because he needed surgery. That was it. It was very surprising to see them play the way they play. I mean, they're a running team pretty much now, and everybody can play any position. And DeRozan, I mean, really impressive. It took me that moment to get on board because he's ups and downs. But right now, with this team, he's the daddy of the team, and he leads. And it was nice to see. I mean, he took over games at the end, but he doesn't have to. He doesn't push it. That's the thing. When the game comes to you, with flow, I mean, that's when you have something. So it's going to be interesting to see what San Antonio does next year. And yes, Greg Popovich will be back. I know that the Brooklyn Nets are dreaming of getting him to move over there. Popovich is not moving. I mean, he's not even moving to a big city. Let's start there. He's happy where he is, but he's not leaving the Spurs.
Yeah, well, that's great news. Pop should never leave San Antonio. He should retire there. And
Messi may leave Barcelona, but Popovich is not leaving San Antonio. It's not crazy now.
Good news. Yeah. DeMar DeRozan obviously had to, live up to replacing Kawhi Leonard, and that's got to be a huge burden on his shoulders. But he has emerged now in his second year and played fantastic. And you say he doesn't push it. I like that. He plays really hard and scores a lot when he's needed. But he also is really good with his teammates and I think that the future is very bright for San Antonio, and you have no worries being down there. Why don't we touch a little bit onto the West as well? We talked about the Lakers, Portland. I thought Portland would push them to a seventh game, possibly have the possibility of knocking off the Lakers. The Lakers didn't look good in that 8-game precursor to the playoffs. It really had struggled. Don't have a very deep team as well, and a lot was riding on the shoulders of LeBron and AD. But they have played incredibly well outside of one game. They're up 3-1. I hear now Damian Lillard will not be able to play in this next game, so that really should take Portland out of the mix and Lakers will move on. But surprising that the Lakers are able to handle Portland so well in this series so far.
Yeah, I mean, they rise up the intensity and the defensive level. And I guess Portland, and I'm not looking for excuse for them, it's just they played so many playoff games to get there. I mean, every game they played, those 8 games you mentioned, they were playoff games. So they had an extra 2 rounds of playoff games pretty much before they played the Lakers. And it's too much, I guess. Physically, you can see it. I mean, they got tired. But the Lakers, you're absolutely right. I'm looking at that bench and I'm like, you are one Anthony Davis injury away from losing it in the next round. I mean, they know that. We don't have to tell them, but that's why I'm not so sure about the Lakers yet. LeBron is playing a heck of a playoff right now. I mean, the same. He's not forcing it. He's really going with the flow. When the team needs it, he does it. I'm not even sure he's played better before. That's a crazy statement, but I was looking at him the other day. I'm like, I don't see anything wrong. Anything is absolutely perfect what he does right now. That might be the scary thing. But, if someone gets hurt, and again, we're going to have that Clippers-Lakers confrontation at some point. It should be quite, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Houston is a pain in the butt, always been. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it emerges. I think everybody's hoping for a Clippers-Lakers. Well, not everybody, but I think a lot of people are hoping for a Clippers-Lakers final. It'll be, Western final. It'll be pretty damn exciting. The Clippers, they've had their troubles with the Mavs, but their defense is just phenomenal. Kawhi Leonard is, just one of the most talented players. You mentioned LeBron. It is just shocking that he's getting better as he ages. Most players, cannot sustain this level of play, and definitely in their mid 30s, their good years are way behind them typically. And it's just phenomenal that a guy can continue to physically dominate. Just be able to keep himself at such a high level, and then all of a sudden make all the rest of his teammates so much better around him. We're going to look upon him as one of the greatest ever to play. It's too bad that he always has to live in that shadow of Michael Jordan, because if he didn't, people would consider him so much greater and give him so much more props. But man, I don't know how he's got this fountain of youth and just being able to play such an amazing level of basketball at this age.
I guess he's wiser than ever, and hopefully it happens to all of us as we get older. But he's always been very good at seeing on the court. But there's been moments of frustration, moment where, you force a little bit, and he's not doing that at all. And it is really pleasant to watch. I mean, you look at him, he's the complete basketball player. They used to be the Lebron James that will grab the rebound and go full court and dunk on everybody. That's not, he can still do it, but that's not what he does. That's not what he needs to do for that team. And that's why I'm not a Lakers fan, and when you spend too much time in San Antonio, you cannot be a Lakers fan. You cannot be a Mavericks fan. And that's why what Doncic is doing is mind-blowing to me, because I love the guy and he plays for the Mavs. But to go back to the Lakers, I'm like you, I'm like everybody. I want to see them play the Clippers and see who comes out of this.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. Yeah. Let's quickly touch on the other two series. Donovan Mitchell has been just incredible in the playoffs, leading scorer, getting 50 points in a couple of games. And the only other guys that have done that, Michael Jordan and Allen Iverson. The Spider has just looked so incredible. I thought Denver was actually going to win this series. I thought they had the playoff medal, and they were going to, be able to take it farther than they have. But he's been able to just throw that team on his back, and with, the help of Rudy Gobert and Jordan Clarkson, Utah's looked so impressive, and Donovan Mitchell is playing out of his mind.
He is, and Rudy Gobert is finally, also is back in contention for, he's not the defensive player of the year, but he's a threat defensively. So when you have that, you have those two positions, 1 and 5, you can go far. It's funny because you're basically saying that Utah is going to go, and I'm not convinced Denver is dead, because it was yesterday. I'm kind of lost with all the games. Yesterday, Denver decide to finally show up, and they have too much talent not to show up, but they're just so inconsistent. Jamal Murray, fantastic player, but you need to bring it every game. They have so many players that operate the same way. It's ups and downs, and it's the playoff. You can't mess around. Every possession means something. So we'll see. That game 6 is going to be quite a battle.
Yeah, you're right.
I think Denver may come back.
Yeah. I shouldn't be calling Utah the victor of that series already. That's for sure. A lot of Canadians, have been talking about Jamal Murray for many years. He has not had that consistency at times when it's needed. But Nikola Jokic is, what a phenomenal talent at center. Rudy Gobert has been able to neutralize him at times because of his length and his athletic ability. But Jamal Murray has played fantastic at times. And that game yesterday, he really emerged. And you're right. They could win two straight games and take the series.
But it's kind of like when you stop saying wow, that you're there. Lillard scored 45 points. We don't say wow anymore. It's just Jamal Murray will be there when he scores 40, and we'll be like, okay, we know. You need to be consistent at that level of the game, and I hope they pull it off. It would be fantastic to have a game 7 in the first round.
Yeah, sure would be. And Rockets and Thunder, it's been a great series. I thought Thunder would probably win early with Russell Westbrook being out of the mix, but Houston won those first 2 games. But then, OKC has been able to storm back and take the next 2 and really make a great series of it. Chris Paul is playing fantastic at his age. They've got, a couple of Canadians in there that are playing really great for OKC. And it's really been nice to see this become a series. Houston's trying to do this small ball thing and losing a lot on the boards, but launching 58 3-pointers the other day was incredibly shocking. And Mike D'Antoni just loves that that style of basketball. But yeah, what have you thought of this series? It's been pretty amazing.
I'm biased because Mike D'Antoni, to me, it's the Phoenix Suns. He's the team that can be Steve Nash. It's that team that is exciting but cannot win. And I'm still there with Mike D'Antoni. And, I don't believe in them. This is not playoff basketball. And I know the game has changed. And that's why we have all those games at 60 points, the players score 50 like this, because they shoot threes all day long. The game has changed. I get it. But you need to play defense to win. And I'll be honest with you. I haven't watched one single game of that series yet. I watch the highlights all the time, but I made a plan of watching Game 5 because Chris Paul finally came to play, and you're like, okay, now we have a series, and Game 5 is going to be a heck of a game, and Game 6.
Yeah, no, me too. Yeah, I'm excited. I've watched the series, and but yeah, it's nice to see Chris Paul. A lot of people wrote him off and said that he goes to OKC, he's making too much money. There's no need to have him here. We're just rebuilding. We got to find another place for him, and he's been able to come in with the Canadian Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and that backcourt has been really, really emerging, and we've got this other Canadian last name Dort that's just been really defensive stalwart, and he's playing great, and yeah, it's good to see that they've pushed Houston into at least 6 games, and yeah, I'm super excited and looking forward to that matchup. So yeah, the playoffs have been fantastic. Sure it's been a great week so far.
Yeah, and I'm sure you have your favorite. We all do. I mean, when you work in the NBA for so long, I mean, there's players that doesn't matter where they end up. I mean, Chris Paul is one of the nicest guy I ever met. He's not a superstar. I mean, he could be, but he doesn't have that attitude, and it's very fresh to talk to him. So I'm always cheering for that guy.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, definitely one of the nicest guys in the league, and one of the reasons why he is the NBA Players Association president. He's fully respected around the league by everyone. So yeah, really nice to see him have his success in another organization. I guess let's talk about Juventus now. 9-time defending champion, looking really great. Being able to win that Serie A champion, play, very, very well. Not winning a Champions League, but looking great. And Cristiano Ronaldo, being able to bring so much to that team. And yeah, tell me about this. Tell me about your academy. I know you had to shut down over the pandemic concerns, and I guess you're about to reopen this coming week. That must be really exciting for you and everyone involved in Soccer Central and the Juventus Academy in San Antonio.
It is just, and I was before I answer that one, I was going to touch on the main club. Having Andrea Pirlo, new coach for Juventus, former player Pirlo, it's quite interesting as well. It's a gamble because he hasn't coached much, but I like the gamble. Juventus needs to have someone from Juventus to coach that team, and it's going to be interesting. As far as us, I mean, it's we're probably not that it is very interesting for people in Canada, but COVID has done a lot of damage in Texas, just like Florida and California, and we've been really delaying the moment to reopen. That's not the reality of many clubs and many sports in here. I mean, they've been practicing for a while. We pushed it to the end of the month. We're not going to do anything until the end of the month, and I think that was the right decision because 2 weeks ago there was 1,500 cases a day in San Antonio, and we are now at 150 cases a day. It's still not great, but it's much better. And we're talking about social distancing and everything and the mask. I really don't know how you do that with a contact sport. As I told you, my son plays soccer, college soccer in Canada. I know what you're doing in Canada. It is drastically different in the US. It is what it is, as the president would say. You have to find a way. I've never been in that situation, obviously, just like everybody else. But it's difficult to teach a team game, a contact game in that situation. And I really don't know how it's going to go. I mean, it's kind of like the schools are reopening. We're going to see how it goes. And the same with team sports. We have games in a month. In 1 month, we have games already. It's going to be something.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
All I have for you, it's something I really don't know. We're in the dark. And,
Yeah.
we have all those protocols where we're going to be way more than coach. We're going to have to pay attention to a lot of new things. And I don't know if that's going to be enough.
Right. Yeah. Well, to go from 1,500 cases a day there to down to 150, I'm glad that whatever safety protocols have been put into place have obviously been working. I hope, that number can be continually reduced. We had really a lot of success, and we were patting ourselves on the back for a really long time here north of the border. And then we had a recent spike where we're getting close to 80 to 100 cases a day. And it was alarming for us because we hadn't seen those numbers since the very early stages of this. So, I know the world is a different place. Every time I go out, immediately I see people with masks. It brings it back into a reality situation. You and I watch a lot of sports, so we can get away from that and, think about other things in life. And it's really nice to be able to have that break from the world. But the reality of the situation is that, COVID has taken over the world, and we're living in unprecedented times. And I hope when you have this reopening, I hope everybody stays safe, and you can, keep the kids and keep, your staff and everybody, without getting the COVID disease. And, it's scary. I know a lot of people that have just recently returned to work, and all the different safety protocols are just shocking that they have to do now to, try to keep everybody safe and stop this disease from emerging. So, good luck to you and the staff. I know it's a huge undertaking, and it's going to be, I'm sure, quite stressful. So, keep safe and keep everybody there safe as well as you can. And I'm really looking forward to talking to you a lot in the future soon. And hopefully it's only good news to report.
Hopefully, yes. Thank you, Darren. Yeah.
Yeah.
And same up there. Stay safe. Keep doing what you're doing, because those are the right decisions. I mean, I think it's way too early to do anything like this, but we're kind of stuck with it. So,
yeah. Well, we're happy here. Politically, I think we're quite happy. I know there's a lot of political unrest down there, and a lot of protests, and a lot of things that the U.S. has to go through. And being your northern neighbors, we're always tuned into what's going on down there. And I'm glad you could shed some light on it from a French and Canadian perspective. Tell us what it's like down there as often as possible. And it was a pleasure having you today. Enjoy the basketball. Keep in really close contact with me. Text me as much as you can, especially when Luka goes for another 45, 17, and 13. They'll be pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to this end of this first round and into the second round. Obviously, we're getting some basketball fever here. There's only one Canadian team left in the NHL. That's the Vancouver Canucks. And so last year there was no Canadian teams left, and that's turned everybody's attention to the Raptors here in Canada. It was the first time that basketball surpassed hockey in popularity in the late spring, early summer. And if the Canucks can't emerge too much farther, that'll be the case again. And it'd be nice to see that. It was exciting for me to actually walk into a bar and see that there was more TVs tuned into basketball than there was to hockey. Not that I don't love hockey, but nice to see that finally people are turning their attention to basketball here in Canada.
That's good. I mean, anything that gets you going, that's good stuff. I'm going to watch some hockey when they play next.
Yeah. Okay, all the best, Olivier. Enjoy your day. I know you've got a lot on your plate. So, keep in really close contact, and we'll talk soon.
All right, have a good one, man.
Okay, thanks. You too. Take care. All the best. Bye. Stay safe. You too. That was a really entertaining conversation for me. I hope you liked it as much as I did. Obviously, it was great to talk NBA basketball with Olivier. We go back, so long. being able to talk basketball. And yeah, the playoffs have been really exciting and fun to watch. So thanks so much for tuning in to Complete Sports Media Podcast. Please support our partners and sponsors. We've got Forever Living, Verbero, and Anchor as our main sponsors, Anchor.fm. Forever Living, go to our website, CompleteSportsMedia.com, and you'll be able to see all the interesting things that we do here at Complete Sports Media. So take care of yourself. Enjoy your week. Look forward to seeing you very soon. Take care. Bye for now.